Iran has warned neighboring countries that joining what it describes as the United States economic war would carry serious consequences. Tehran says any state aligning with Washington in the dispute would be regarded as an enemy and could face retaliation targeting its interests. The statement raises regional tensions by linking economic decisions directly to security and geopolitical risks. It also signals that Iran views sanctions, trade restrictions, and financial pressure as part of a broader confrontation, rather than a purely economic dispute. Neighboring governments are now being urged to weigh the potential costs of cooperation with U.S. measures against Iran, as officials and analysts monitor whether the warning leads to further diplomatic friction or retaliatory action. U.S. Special Envoy Jared Kushner has issued an ultimatum to Hamas, demanding that it meet commitments to disarm in Gaza. Kushner warned that failure to comply could prompt an Israeli military operation to finish the job, sharply increasing pressure on the group amid fragile efforts to prevent further escalation. The demand places disarmament at the center of discussions over Gaza's security, humanitarian access, and long-term governance. It also underscores Washington's direct involvement in diplomacy surrounding the conflict. Analysts are watching closely for Hamas's response, as refusal could bring renewed military confrontation, while any willingness to negotiate could affect broader ceasefire efforts and the prospects for a more durable political arrangement. The Gaza Health Ministry says the reported Palestinian death toll in the Gaza conflict has risen to about 73,420. The ministry, which is affiliated with Hamas, released the updated figure on Sunday as fighting and military operations continue. The number reflects the devastating human cost of the war between Israel and Hamas and adds to international concern over Gaza's humanitarian emergency. Health services, shelter, food supplies, and other essential infrastructure have faced sustained pressure throughout the conflict. International organizations and news agencies continue to monitor casualty reports and conditions on the ground, while emphasizing that figures may change as information is verified and additional deaths are recorded. The situation remains volatile, with humanitarian needs expected to remain acute. A strategic waterway between Iran and Oman has become a major geopolitical flashpoint after Iran moved to close it in response to reported U.S. and Israeli military attacks. The route's disruption has raised immediate concern for shipping, energy markets, and global supply chains, highlighting the vulnerability of maritime trade to regional conflict. Though little known beyond specialist circles, the passage is a critical artery for commerce in the region. Governments, shipping interests, and international organizations are assessing the potential economic effects and seeking ways to protect navigation. The episode demonstrates how rapidly local military tensions can take on global consequences when control of vital infrastructure and trade routes is used as leverage. At least 8 people have been killed in flash floods in Nepal, authorities say, with the toll expected to rise as emergency assessments continue. Floodwaters have damaged roads and energy facilities, disrupting access to affected communities and raising concern over electricity supplies and other essential services. Officials say the scale of property damage may be much greater than initial reports suggest. Flash floods can strike with little warning, leaving residents limited time to evacuate and making roads, bridges, and remote settlements especially vulnerable. Search and rescue teams are working to reach impacted areas, while authorities gather information on injuries, missing people, displaced residents, and infrastructure losses. Further updates are expected as recovery operations expand. An Iran-Oman agreement outlining a temporary transit route through the Strait of Hormuz may offer a possible opening for shipping, but military analysis suggests major obstacles remain before normal navigation can resume. Key questions include whether the proposed route is practical for commercial vessels, whether it can be confirmed safe, and whether mines or other maritime threats have been cleared. Another unresolved issue is who would set the passage rules and enforce compliance. Without clarity on oversight and coordination, the arrangement could create further uncertainty rather than lasting security. The deal may provide a temporary framework, but its success depends on mine clearance, enforceable transit rules, and agreement over who controls the corridor. Israel's military leadership has warned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz that nationalist crime in the West Bank could trigger a wider escalation. The army chief and head of Central Command reportedly described the situation as a match that could ignite the region amid violent incidents and rising tensions. Security officials are also concerned about the issue's impact in the United States. where criticism has reportedly slowed the establishment of farms in the West Bank. The warning follows a shooting attack in the village of Tel, in the Samaria Brigade area, in which B Hebrew Nun Hebrew Yod Hebrew Hi Hebrew Vav Molt was killed. No new decisions were announced, but the military message stressed the need for urgent action to prevent further deterioration. Pakistani poet Shahid Abbas is challenging traditional ideas of literary universality, arguing that Western recognition has too often become the measure of an author's or tradition's value. He says this approach turns world literature into a hierarchy, placing certain languages and writers at the center, while marginalizing others with equally deep cultural histories. Abbas calls instead for direct dialogue between literary traditions, particularly Arabic and Urdu poetry, which share long histories of exchange and influence. He presents translation and poetic conversation as tools for mutual understanding rather than routes toward approval from a single cultural center. His argument raises a wider question, whether universality means acceptance within a dominant system, or equal connections among diverse languages, experiences, and literary cultures.